Welcome to the Backend Web Development Using Go video course. We'll start off by covering the Model View Controller architectural pattern, and then we'll take a look at request routing with the Gorilla Mux package. Moving on, we'll cover HTTP middleware in Go, and then we'll cover the HTTP request context. And finally, we'll see how to implement a REST API in Go. We will explore the architecture of the MVC pattern. We will present the benefits of using the MVC pattern. And finally, we will consider how the MVC pattern applies to Go web applications. The Model View Controller pattern, also known better by its acronym, the MVC pattern, is heavily used in the creation of web applications. Most server-side web applications implement this architectural pattern. The MVC pattern works really well for applications that have a graphical user interface that the user interacts with. There are three primary components in a Model View Controller-based application. The first component is the model. The primary purpose of the model is to supply data and business rules to the application. Think of the model as the gatekeeper for your data. The second component is the view. The view component is responsible for the output that the user sees. Views are responsible for presentation and the rendering of the models into the user interface in a form that makes sense to the user. Finally, the third component is the controller. The controller implements the application logic of the system, and this basically tells the application how it should behave. You can conceptualize the controller as a broker between the model and the views in your application. The controller accepts user input from the view, and it can access or mutate the state of the model. The controller can also change what the view is currently presenting. Here are some advantages of the MVC pattern. There's a clear separation of concerns between the components. The MVC pattern provides us a clean separation of concerns. This allows us to easily make changes. For example, if the appearance of a view changed, in many cases, we can simply change the view without having to modify the controller or the model. And when it comes to business logic testing, we should be able to test an application's business logic without having to touch the user interface at all. In this manner, we can test an individual layer of the application for compliance. And we also have the advantage where now we can have simultaneous development. Many developers can work on different areas of the project in a parallel manner. For example, we can have one set of developers who are involved with the business logic and the focus of the models, and we can have another set of developers who are interested in the appearance of the application and are focused on the view portion of the application. MVC and Go web applications. In Go, there are many web frameworks that implement the MVC pattern explicitly. Typically, you will find that they separate the models, views, and controllers into their own respective directories. However, Go is a modern programming language that has taken web development into consideration while it was being designed. We actually do have an implicit MVC pattern that already exists when we use Go's net HTTP package along with Go's HTML template package. We can consider our models in our application to be the user-defined types, the structs, which will represent our application's data and business rules. The views in our application are the template files. As you remember from section 1, templates help us dress up the application. The rendered template is what the user sees when they interact with the application. And finally, the application's controller logic can be contained within the routes and HTTP handlers that we create. For example, when a user interacts with our web application, they will click around items, causing requests to be sent to the server. For each interaction, we will have an appropriate route, take some action with a handler, and send a response back to the user. In this video, we introduce the Model View Controller software architectural pattern. In the next video, we are going to take a look at more complex routing using the Gorilla Mux package.